for the. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the San Diego Regional Litter Abatement Subcommittee. It's Monday, July 19, 2021. And we do have a quorum, so we are officially starting the meeting. And I'm just going to make a few remarks here at the beginning of this meeting. So our last meeting was in May, and I wanted to bring the subcommittee up to speed on what has happened around the region and the state in terms of litter abatement in the last several months. So the great thing is that there's actually some serious resource that's coming to litter abatement. So this subcommittee has been meeting for nearly a year now. And we've been meeting because we have motivated elected officials and stakeholders like all of you who want to see improvement in terms of the litter that we see across our region. So I think we agree this is a collective priority. And so we've been working over this last year with Caltrans, our state legislature, other agencies like the Highway Patrol, the Water Quality Control Board, and then our region's waste haulers, the major waste haulers, and also our really important nonprofit partners to find different ways to elevate this issue and to improve the conditions of our roadway. And you may know that recently the governor has proposed over $1 billion in the state budget as part of what's called the California Comeback Plan. And that is supposed to go toward litter removal under this program that's called Clean California Initiative. And I'm thrilled that the governor has made this commitment. I know the governor's office has monitored this subcommittee and the work that we've been doing. And I've also spoken to staff at the governor's office about the importance of this issue. And so it's really important to see that there are dedicated funds toward this, because I think we all know that Caltrans is trying really hard, but without more resources, it's just impossible to really make that change that is needed to have us have just a lot cleaner freeways and highways and on and off ramps. So just about a week ago, or a little over a week ago, Mayor Dedina and Supervisors Vargas and Fletcher, as well as other local officials and I, joined with Caltrans District Director Gustavo Delarda in what's called the Clean California Day of Action. And so part of the point of this was to highlight how important this money in the governor's proposed budget is to local areas, so that hopefully our legislative counterparts can see how important this is and will keep it in the final budget. So what the proposal is a multi-year investment, which is aimed at removing litter and adding jobs. So the jobs is a really critical part of that, and beautifying the state. And so today we're going to hear from Caltrans about an overview of this program, like what exactly it would mean for our county and what the program's funding, how it's designed and how it could work. And I also just want to mention that, you know, several years ago, or 2 or so years ago, there was a lot more money that was put into Caltrans budget for road repairs, but that money wasn't designated for litter removal. And so in many ways, you know, this problem wasn't addressed with the previous funding source, which I think was SB1 at the time. So, you know, it's really important from my perspective that this money is specifically dedicated to litter abatement, because we'll be able to actually track progress and make sure that things are improving on our roadways when the money is dedicated for this specifically. And then we're also going to hear today from representatives from the Back to Work program and the Center for Employment Opportunities. These are transitional employment programs that focus on getting veterans, at-risk youth, and those who are transitioning out of incarceration back into the workforce. And then just as a reminder, our next meeting, which is in September, we will be talking about homelessness and litter on our freeways. So that will be the focus of that meeting, but that's not going to be the focus of this meeting. So I'll just make one more comment that I think is really important, that we have been focusing on, and what we'll hear today is about the money that will go to litter abatement. But it's also really important, I think, that we all continue to own the culture of cleanliness that we want to see, because I know in my part of the county, there's a massive Build NCC project that's happening, and Caltrans, we as a Sandag and as a region are paying more money for the contractor to keep the freeway clean on this construction site. And so the construction site is long and goes a long distance, but the section that's in Encinitas, I have had to complain about and do follow up on and ask for accountability on ramps and off ramps that remain or become trashy and do not get picked up in time. And so, the need for the elected leadership and other leaders to call attention to this and to say, this is obviously not a Caltrans resource problem. This is an outside contractor who's managing this. But we as leaders, I think, need to continue to expect and articulate that these sections of our freeway be kept clean, and to shine a spotlight on that and make that a priority, or there's a kind of culture of the degradation of like, this is acceptable, because you see this in other parts of the county. So this construction site section is acceptable, that we keep it, that we allow it to fall into this state. So, and I just also want to mention that this Clean California Day, when we were having this press conference, there were a group of workers who went out and cleaned the hillside, and we as electeds did some cleanup too. But there were workers doing real, like, serious labor on a hillside in the sun working. But then right next door was the riverway. That's the city of San Diego and the Regional Water Quality Board. And it was just like a total trash heap. I mean, it was out of control amounts of trash in that riverbed, which was not part of where this press conference was taking place. And just, recognizing the reality that we all need to continue to fight for this at all levels, or it's really not, we're not going to be able to move the needle on it. So I'm really excited about this $1 billion in the governor's budget, and I'm really excited to hear from Gustavo about it. But I also just want to make sure that we all continue to own the problem. I mean, to fight for this, because without doing that, this is just one piece of it, but it has to take place in multiple different areas. So before we go to Gustavo, we need to approve the meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion on that, and also just see if we have any public comments on the meeting minutes.
If you're looking for a motion, Mayor Musgrove will move to approve.
Second, Sotelo Solis.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second, but do we have any public comments on the meeting minutes?
No, Chair, no hands from the public.
Okay, then let's go ahead and vote.
Thank you. For the city of Encinitas, Chair Blakespear.
Yes.
Thank you. For the city of Imperial Beach, Mayor Dedina.
Yes.
Thank you. The city of Lemon Grove is absent. For the city of
No,
National.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm here. Yes.
Thank you very much. For the city of National City, Mayor Sotelo Solis.
Sotelo Solis, aye.
Thank you. For the city of Poway, Councilmember Frank.
Yes.
Thank you. For the city of San Diego, Councilmember Moreno.
Moreno, yes.
Thank you. The county of San Diego is absent. For the city of San Marcos, Councilmember Musgrove.
Musgrove, aye.
Thank you. For the city of Solana Beach, Mayor Hebner.
Hebner, yes.
Thank you. And the city of Vista is absent. And that motion does pass with those members present.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda items?
Chair, I don't see any hands.
Okay, great. Then we'll have our first report. So this is Caltrans District 11 Director Gustavo Delarda. He's joining us today to provide an overview of the governor's Clean California initiative. So I'll hand it over to you, Gustavo.
Thank you, Chair Blakespear, members of the Leader Abatement Subcommittee. I'm Gustavo Delarda, as you probably already all know me. I'm the District 11 Director that covers San Diego and Imperial County. If we can go on to the next slide. So most of my presentation will be focused on Clean California. But before I get there, I wanted to highlight a couple of successes that we've had since we last met. As we met last time, some efforts were ongoing on State Route 94, but I just wanted to report that we actually finished those efforts, and those efforts included weekend closures along State Route 94. We went all the way from downtown to Spring Valley. And during each closure, we had approximately 80 to 100 people doing all sorts of maintenance activities, including picking up litter. And you kind of like the picture on the bottom of this slide speaks for itself, what it looked like in an area before our maintenance forces got to it, and how it looked afterwards. And that's the kind of stuff, that's how we want our freeways and our public spaces to look. But it wasn't just our maintenance forces. We actually also had adopt a highway groups that were invited to clean their areas. We were actually joined by California Assembly member Dr. Akila Weber, and also a San Diego Council member Monica Montgomery Stepp in participating as part of the cleanup, and also presenting some of the awards and certificate of appreciation to the groups that helped us clean State Route 94. We also partnered with the city of San Diego, and who piggybacked on some of our closures, and were able to conduct some paving work in the downtown area, taking full advantage of our closures. So if we can go on to the next slide. So 2 more partnerships that I wanted to and successes that I want to identify. First, on June 19th, we partnered with the city of El Cajon, and a group of volunteers and city employees helped clean several ramps while we had some full freeway closures to replace a bridge on I-8 and State Route 67. It was organized by city staff, and this model and template could be used for similar events with other municipalities throughout the region, so that we can clean our freeways as we also get other work done. And then just this past weekend, we joined Councilmember Vivian Moreno at a free dumpster event at Balboa Elementary, where we handed out some tarps plus outreach material regarding the importance of tarping vehicles when people are transporting goods. I wasn't there, but my staff reports to me that 90% of the amateur waste haulers that use trucks did not have any sort of containment, and that's troubling, because that's how the trash ends up on our highways. So we will continue the effort to continue to educate the public about the importance of tarping and holding similar events throughout our county. Let's go on to the next slide. So prior to Clean California, Caltrans has been spending about $115 million annually throughout the state, removing litter from our state highways. Where did that $115 million go? Well, we removed approximately 267,000 cubic yards of trash, which is enough to fill 18,000 garbage trucks. And even prior to Clean California, since we've been working together on this litter abatement subcommittee, we made a series of enhancements to bring in more staff, to help get some more help from our special program crews, like the Veteran Outreach Program and the Center of Employment Opportunity that you will hear about later. But despite these efforts, it hasn't been enough. And you all know that the condition of our highways continues to be not where we want it. So let's go on to the next slide. And this is not just a local issue. This is a statewide and to some degree a national issue. There was a recent article in the Time magazine that was talking about, there's garbage everywhere, and as more people are coming out of isolation and from the pandemic, the amount of trash has continued proliferating on our public spaces. And thanks to a lot of you, like Mayor Blakespear was mentioned, and the work that this subcommittee has done, we've been advocating for more resources to be able to fight this problem. So let's go on to the next slide. So Governor Newsom listened, and as he, if we can go on to the next slide, and as he unveiled the May revised, he unveiled also a Clean California initiative, which is over $1 billion. It's a multi-year effort. It is, some parts of it are a 2-year program, some part of it are a 3-year program, and I'll get into the detail of which one is which in a few slides. But the program overall is estimated to create 10,000 to 11,000 jobs in the state. There's money for litter abatement. There's money for state and local projects. There's money for public outreach. and there's money for design and construction of those state and local projects, as well as money for engaging the public. About a third of the $1 billion will be going to the cities, counties, and tribes to help clean and beautify local spaces. So let's go on to the next slide. And I'll be diving into a little bit more detail into all of these. So the Clean California is kind of an easy way to remember it for me is kind of centered around 4 E's. The first E is to engage and invest in communities. The second one is education. The third one is expanding leader pickup. And the last one is enhancing infrastructure. Let's go on to the next slide. So as the mayor mentioned in her opening remarks, on July 7th, on a statewide basis in all of the counties, there were events calling the state to a day of action for cleaning California. In San Diego County, like the mayor mentioned, we had the participation of other elected officials, including the mayor, Supervisor Vargas, Mayor Dedina, Supervisor Fletcher. We also have members from the governor's office as well as the mayor of San Diego's office. We were at Southcrest Park, where we cleaned an area right next to the freeway. That's the slope that the mayor was referring to. The river that the mayor was referring to is Choyes Creek, which is just adjacent to the park. And this is a park. It is an area that is right next to where children are playing. And even within the park, there were some broken bottles. But this is not the only area where we were cleaning. We were actually cleaning throughout the county on this Clean California Day of Action. And throughout the county, we picked up 116 cubic yards of trash, which is enough to fill about 8 garbage trucks. So let's go on to the next slide. So since the May revise, we have been focusing at Caltrans on a series of statewide project teams to be able to tackle each part of the Clean California plan. So there is a statewide team that is focusing on hiring, and I will briefly discuss how that translated into an event last week for our San Diego County. There's a statewide team looking at what supporting equipment the new employees are going to need in order to be able to pick up the litter. There are teams looking at the state highway projects, at the local projects. There's a team looking at the education and outreach component. There's a team looking at expanding maintenance agreements, adopt the highway, looking at free dump days, and as well as how can we expand the special program groups. So let's go on to the next slide. In our district, our Clean California team is being led by 2 of our management team. I think with us today is Alan Kossop, who is our North Corridor corridor director, but he's also has volunteered to lead the participation of District 11 in those teams that I was mentioning before. And we also have Margie Perez, who's our acting division chief of construction. Also, between Alan and Margie are the 2 team leaders, which are at our executive level. So it speaks for how much we think that this is important for our district and for our county. Let's go on to the next slide. So now I'm going to talk about the portion that is about beautifying local communities. So this is a 2-year program. So it's supposed to be wrapped up by July of 2023. It approximately has $300 million statewide. The focus is to look at community engagement and identify projects that will reflect community needs and culture. And one of the team that is putting together the guidelines of this project, according to the legislation, is supposed to come up with these guidelines within 6 months of the enacting of these funds in the budget. Just for everyone to know, these funds were actually in a bill, in a legislative bill that was approved by the governor just last week. So it's a very fresh program. The guidelines are supposed to come up within the next 6 months. So 6 months from last week, that's when the guidelines need to come up. There's supposed to be 2 workshops seeking local input once the guidelines are put together. The guidelines are going to contain the selection criteria of how the local agencies can submit projects and how these projects are going to be picked. But according to the legislation, 50% of the funds need to go to underserved communities. And after the guidelines are approved, after those 2 public meetings, Caltrans will have 3 months to put out a call for projects so that local jurisdictions, including cities, counties, or tribal government, can apply for those projects and for those funds. Let's go on to the next slide. The money that went into expanding litter removal resources was actually part of the budget that was signed on June 28th. So it's about 2 weeks old. But this is a very important piece. This is about 400 million, which divided, this is actually over 3 years. So 400 divided by 3 years, it's about 130 million per year. So it will, in essence, doubled what we were spending before. Remember, I mentioned that we were spending about $115 million per year prior to Clean California. So we will basically double our resources. What does that mean? So in our district, in San Diego County, last week, we held a hiring event, and we were actually joined by Mayor Sotelo Solis, and I want to thank her for cheering up the crowd and getting that event undergoing. We had great participation, great interest from the media. All of the local news media covered the event. A lot of people actually showed up because they heard earlier that morning that this was coming up. We had 243 applicants that came through on day first. And of these 243, 206 returned on the next day for actual interviews. We were shooting for identifying 50 entry-level maintenance workers. We actually ended up offering 68 conditional job offers. So we're really excited about this. And during the whole process, during the whole 2 days, there was an anonymous surveys that we asked people to fill out. It was completely voluntary. But during the survey, we found out that out of these participants, 33 were formerly incarcerated, and 18 were people that have experienced homelessness. So we're really excited about the potential connection to reinsert people into the workforce that were formerly incarcerated, or people that have become or have experienced homelessness. So that's kind of like a win-win on many aspects. But we're not going to just do this with state forces. We're also expanding the special program crews that we have, and that includes the Veteran Outreach Program and the Center for Employment Opportunity. We're looking at expanding in San Diego County to get an additional 7 crews, which will turn also into another 50 contracted people that will help us with picking up litter. You may recall that during the pandemic, we lost the court referral program, where we were getting anywhere between 80 to 100 people per day doing community service in the form of picking up litter in lieu of paying fines. And we lost that program. And one of the things that we're looking at doing through Clean California is to actually take over this program, work directly with the court system, and have Caltrans basically reinstate this program. And that will also hopefully bring back those kind of volunteers to do the work as well. So those are some of the partnerships that we're looking at expanding. On the Adopt a Highway program, one of the things that Clean California is bringing is a stipend for each cleanup. where this stipend would apply to both existing adoptees and also future adoptees. There's a maximum of stipend of $250 per month, but this may help also expand the number of adoptions that we have on our system. The number of adoptions on our system continues to be stable, which means that we are bringing in some adoptees through the active marketing that we're doing, but we are also losing some because as we are checking, there are some organizations that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so we've kind of have as many people, groups coming in as we have some groups going out. But hopefully with the stipend, we will increase the number of adoptions, but also because of the stipend, we will also have to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing because we want to be fiscally responsible. Let's go on to the next slide. So one of what I think is not the biggest portion of Clean California, but I think to me is gonna be one of the most impactful in the long term is an education campaign. And this education and outreach campaign is funded for about $33 million for the next 2 years. This campaign is going to develop leader awareness and target starting with public schools and of course also the rest of the population. But this is the one where we're gonna reduce the source of waste. So to me, this is money well spent because after the 3 years is over and maybe those resources that we've gotten go away, those extra resources that we've gotten go away. Hopefully by reducing the amount of litter that ends up on our highways, we can then maintain the system with the levels that we had before. So this is going to be a very important part of the campaign. Next, please. Next slide. And last but not least, there's a part of beautifying of the proposal to beautify the state highway system. So similar to the local highway system, the local beautification projects, Caltrans has 6 months to identify which areas of our right-of-way we're going to be beautifying. This is also a 2-year program, so just like the local beautification program. After we selected the areas where we're going to be doing this, we're going to jump straight into design and construction. We will be focusing also in underserved communities, just like the local program. And just to put things into perspective, the kind of magnitude that we might be playing with in San Diego County and Imperial County, the both counties managed by our district, we're looking at probably $25 to $30 million worth of projects on state right-of-way under this program. Let's go on to the next slide. And I think that is my last slide. So this time I'd like to open it up to see if there are any questions.
Well, thank you for that. That was really excellent and interesting. I'll go to my colleagues here. So Mayor Sotelo Solis.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you again, Gustavo, for the presentation. It was, I know you highlighted the job fair. It was amazing turnout. And to know that 243 people showed up, 206 returned, and that 68 conditional job offers were, provided. That is an immediate turnaround. That's exactly the types of things that we as elected officials want to see and want to hear, because those folks want to get back into the workforce and those good paying jobs. So I want to thank your team for all of the work to put that event on, both locally and statewide. I think that as we look for future opportunities like this, so now it looks like since only 68 conditional job offers were potentially set, for the additional, let's say 150 people that were still interested, are there other job opportunities with the Clean California funding that we could potentially match folks to? Or what was the, I guess, the gap of potential hiring of those additional folks? Again, knowing that there was limited hiring spaces.
That is a great question. And the way that I can answer is twofold. One is that eventually over time, this is a 3-year program. So eventually over time, some of the people that come into our organization and start at the bottom, because these are entry-level positions, may get training and may advance in the organization to even better paying jobs and more responsibility, which will create some vacancies. So we anticipate having to do a hiring event like this for entry-level positions, maybe in another 6 months to 12 months, because some of the people that we just hired may be moving up that quickly in the organization. The other part of it is I mentioned that we are expanding the crews under our partners at the Veteran Outreach Program, as well as the Center of Employment Opportunity. So I'm sure that, and I don't want to speak for them, they will be presenting later on, but I'm sure that they will be needing forces. Also because some of the people that we are hiring maybe had experience and they were working for them. So there are opportunities maybe with some of those groups, as well as some of the nonprofit organizations that we may be contracting with later on in the program. So I think there's, as far as we are concerned right now, we kind of overextended ourselves because we had a target of 50 and we went to 68, but I think there will be more opportunities in the future.
Well, I think that overextension on behalf of our communities, I think is a great gesture, and I encourage more overextension. And then just secondly, Chair, was with regards to the $25 to $30 million. You said it was over the course of 2 years or a 3-year program? And does that include maintenance as well beyond the 3 years?
So the beautification projects, both for the local and the state, are 2-year programs. So they're supposed to be done by July 2023. The 25 to 30 million that I mentioned was for just the state portion of the beautification projects. We don't know yet how much money is going to be allocated to the locals and the cities. We know that overall is like $300 million, but we don't know if we're going to be given an amount for, say, San Diego County, and then the cities and the county will be competing against themselves, or if it will be a statewide competition. So we on the local side, we don't know how much money we might be getting.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Dedina.
No, thanks, Gustavo. I just want to thank Gustavo. First, Chair Blake's we were both with, I think, Supervisor Fletcher overlooking Choice Creek and just shocked by all the garbage that, at the end of the day, the Regional Water Board lets flow into San Diego Bay. So I think first, I think the Regional Water Board and State Water Board at the statewide level is probably a missing actor here, and just making sure there's coordination with Caltrans, and maybe and Gustavo, this is something to think about, that we, underserved areas combined with watersheds, maybe as a strategic focus. And I know you guys probably already do that, but, I think those are going to be the pressure points. And a lot of those areas are in underserved areas anyway. But, obviously if it's near even if it's just near your headquarters, near, the San Diego River, but it's clear those are the areas that have the greatest amount of impact on sort of exacerbating highway litter. But I just want to thank you. I think it's been really clear that you're seeing a real smart strategy. It's exactly how policy should be carried out, in the sense that it's very clear that Caltrans directors like Gustavo gave your feedback to the headquarters and policymakers, because the policy really reflects the conditions on the ground. And then, working together, you guys crafted a policy sort of implementation strategy that includes hiring people, which is great. And thank you, Mayor Solis. You're right. I mean, it's just awesome to see guys, men and women, looking for good paying jobs. Well, not great paying, but with benefits, right? It's clear people need those jobs, and hiring formerly incarcerated folks. I think it's awesome. And then really thinking critically what it's going to take to really get stuff done. So really happy with it. Gustavo, I've been out in the field with you and your staff at least a couple times, and really impressed. I know you guys really want to make this happen. And you have. So we're here to work with you and support this effort. I think it's really good. I think we want to make it the best effort in the state. So we want Time Magazine to focus on what the solution was, and then focus on San Diego as being the country's best model for cleanup and hiring people, right? That's that's the Green New Deal and the Blue New Deal, because we're gonna keep our beaches clean too. So anyway, thanks. Really appreciate the extra effort and the communication up the chain. And it's clear the governor was listening. So now we just have to make it happen. So just, you can count on IB, and I know my support to whatever you need. Don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Green.
All right, thank you so much, Chair Blakespear. And I want to echo all my colleagues. Gustavo, great presentation. 68 new jobs to help combat the problem is huge. It's so great to see us throw ideas out there and see staff go and make things happen to actually accomplish things in the area. So thank you so much for that. Two questions I have are just on timing, and maybe I missed the timing on it. I'm wondering, when do we anticipate the call to projects will go out to the cities? I think you said it could be a state call or might be a county call. You don't have all that figured out yet, but do we have a time frame on when the call to projects might go out to the cities? And then my second question is, when will the actual stipends for the Adopt a Highway cleanups begin, so that we can let all of our local agencies know that have adopted the highways when they can start applying for those stipends?
Okay, so the first question, it was when the call for projects might happen for locals, cities, counties, or tribal governments. By the law that was enacted, that enacted the budget for this, the most will be 9 months from last week, because that would be 6 months to finish the guidelines and 3 months to have a call for projects. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that, because we need to have all those projects done in 2 years. So if we wait nine months to have the call for projects, that would only give us about a year and a few months to design and build these projects. So I think you're looking at anywhere between 3 to 6 months probably, but that's my guess. But 9 months would be the absolute latest according to that legislation. And the second question was regarding the stipend for the Adopt a Highway. Current adoptees and future adoptees. I don't have a date yet. I still think they're working out the details on that, but we'll definitely let everybody know as soon as that becomes effective.
All right. Thank you so much, and thanks again for your presentation.
Thank you. Now we have Councilmember Musgrove.
Thank you, Mayor. Gustavo, excellent presentation. Real quickly, I noticed in the slide where you showed the beautification along the state highways and the rights of way. It looked like the South Bay area, maybe on Interstate 5, where it's very, very nice the way the hardscape is set up, stampcrete coloration, and it's really nice and designed. Will there be some variety offered, such as along Highway 78, which has been noted in the past as being one of the less appealing stretches of highway between Escondido and Oceanside, for maybe something like ice plant that will help keep the heat down, but also when we have issues of cars breaking down, we tend to have these fires that occur along the slopes, and that create, exacerbates the problem with traffic. And the other thing, real quickly, just a very positive comment about the court referral and probation. I don't think we can emphasize that enough as a way to allow people to stay out of jail and putting their good labor and effort into beautifying. And it can be a humbling experience. And at the same time, I think we all benefit from it. It's just a great idea to help probationers. And if I understood you correctly, you're looking at former inmates, but also employing maybe some of the homeless people to engage in this program to help improve their particular environments. Was that correct?
So let me try to tackle all the issues you brought up. The first one was regarding potentially using landscaping in the form of ice plant. For sure, we're going to be looking at using sustainable landscape. Ice plant is a little bit tricky. Part of it is invasive in the coastal areas, and can also may also require a lot of amount of water to stay green, and the state is entering into a serious drought problem. So we may steer away from ice plant, but we may invest in some more sustainable landscapes that do the same thing. Sure. And we will definitely look at hardscaping, like the picture that you saw on I-5 on South Bay. Hardscaping sometimes is a little bit pricier, so we're going to have to do a balancing act between where we put sustainable landscape versus where we can put hardscaping, but all options are on the table. With respect to your second point, so the court referral system, it's for people that have fines and they negotiate with the court that in lieu of paying the fines, they will do community service. And in the previous version of the program, where the county was running the program, the county would basically contact us and say, and tell us, hey, the court gave us 80 people today. Can you come pick them up? And then we would go pick them up. So these are not people that are coming off of jail or people that are homeless. These are people that are working along the highway in lieu of paying fines. The Center of Employment Opportunity looks at reinserting people that have been incarcerated back into society, and that's one of our special program groups. The Veteran Outreach Program, that's the same thing with veterans, and some of our veterans, unfortunately, are at the verge or have become homeless. So yes, we are looking at employing veterans, people that experience homelessness, or people that are coming from incarceration, but not through a court referral program, through these other programs. I hope that answers the question.
It is, and thank you. I mean, the multifaceted approach is commendable. It's fantastic the way that the state is looking at this a little more holistically instead of a one-size-fits-all to try and get us to a better quality with our roadways. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, council member. Okay, now I have a couple of questions and comments as well. So I'm really thrilled, as my colleagues are, with the new jobs. Like, that's really fantastic, 68 new people, because at the end of the day, we need boots on the ground to do more trash pickup. And so the fact that these people will be doing that is excellent. And I think the number was like 38,000 or so that they get paid a year plus full benefits and health insurance. And is that true? Do you remember the number? Was that right? 38?
I think it was about 35,000.
35.
If I'm not mistaken, 35,000.
Yeah. I'm just curious about the timing of this, though, because the state budget hasn't passed yet. And so were these 50 slots that we had vacant?
No, this portion of the budget actually was signed by the governor on June 28th.
Okay, so these were new jobs.
These are new positions.
Okay, and so, and
Yes.
you have integrated these new positions into existing teams or created new teams so that these are new boots on the ground. That's what I'm trying to get at.
These are new teams. These are new teams that we are adding. Obviously, we need to add, supervisors to the teams, and we need to have the equipment to be able to transport these people to the field. So that's all part of the plan. The conditional job offers mean that we still have a few weeks until the people are finally cleared to come in and work for us, and then they will go undergo some safety training. But my expectation is shortly after those things happen, they will be out there picking up litter. And we will start leveraging the equipment that we have. The equipment does take a little bit longer, but we'll definitely put these people to work as quickly as we can.
Okay, great. And then my other comment is I'm thrilled to hear about the reinvention of the probation program, because that did seem like a major problem for Caltrans when the probationers went away, and having that come back as a source of labor. I mean, I would, if I was going to get a ticket and have my insurance go up, I would much rather go pick up trash for the day. So it does seem like it's really critical that we get that back online. Do you feel like that's going well and that you have the support you need, or do you need support from anyone on this committee or any other thing to help make that a reality?
We have the support that we need from Sacramento. We have received templates for agreements that we can use at the local level to enter into the necessary agreements with the court system and with the county as well. The county will play a role, but it'll be much smaller than the role that they played before. So still a lot of I'm hopeful, but still a lot of the details need to be worked out. At this point, I don't see any stumbling blocks, but I welcome your offer in case we run into any issues.
Okay, well, yeah, just make sure and report back to us on this, because I'm sure we have relationships with the Board of Supervisors, and anything that we need to do to help make this happen so that these people can come back online, I think is really important, the probationers. So if you can give us an update on that at the next meeting, I think that would be really great.
Absolutely. And one thing that is critical for that program is that we don't get back into a situation where we need to have social distancing again or things like that. So keeping the pandemic under control is critical, because that program doesn't work well if you can only put one person in a van or two people in a van. And the court
Right.
also needs to be open for business, negotiating those deals with people so that they can tell us that they have people available. It is subject to also conditions to continue how they are. And we know that in a couple of portions of the state, there is a little bit of a regression on the pandemic. And hopefully that doesn't happen here.
Yes, that is certainly an unclear future there. Okay, great. And then my last point is, I just really want to reemphasize how important it is that we remain focused on the Adopt a Highway program. I mean, from my perspective, the part of the Caltrans freeway that you have to pay people to maintain when it comes to litter, you just don't have, it's so big. I mean, your district is so big, and every Adopt a Highway that we can get a volunteer group, a business who is taking ownership of that is something your people, 68 new people, don't have to maintain. And so, the fact that we're at what you called stable, to me, that's a nice way of saying, like, we're really not expanding it as much maybe as we had hoped to. And I think it's at least a third unfilled, like the available Adopt a Highways that are in our county or in our district they're not filled. And so, I'm thrilled to hear of the $250, because maybe that's the incentive that we need to make a difference so that we have more people who are willing to do it. If the bigger signs weren't enough incentive and this and that, but having those be adopted, it seems like we really need to maintain that pressure and focus on that. And to the extent Caltrans is putting out social media alerts or things saying like, hey, this is available in this city and you can target it to that zip code or whatever if you want to adopt a highway, or I know we had talked extensively about I Love a Clean San Diego and Coast Keepers and other really groups that know how to pick up trash in other formats, like on the beaches, and they mobilize huge numbers of volunteers that they could be like the go-to partner. And I don't know where the negotiations are with that, but it does seem like we're not, having a stable Adopt a Highway is not really what we're going for. We're going for an expansion to really ideally get to 100%. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, but I'm hoping that, at our next meeting, we can maybe start to see some improvement in that section.
Yes, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Mayor. One of the things that I think that I would mention is 100% may be unrealistic, because there are some areas that are less desirable for adoption. Because they may be far away from businesses, they may be far away from community-based organizations. What Clean California gives us is the tools to be able to say, hey, these areas are adoptable because technically they could be adopted, but if they're not desirable because we're not getting groups that are interested in those areas, then we have other resources to be able to pick up litter in those areas and we can focus on that with our maintenance forces, with our VOP, and with our CEO crews. I don't think we're ever going to reach 100% because of that, but is there room for improvement? Absolutely. We've been able to adopt about 40 new adoptions recently, both through our passive advertising, meaning we put signs that say your name could be here. This area is up for adoption. We've gotten some interest that way. We've done outreach to our small business community, and we have had small businesses come in and actually adopt a couple of locations because that's cheaper for them than paying advertising. And also we've had great partnerships with cities' chambers of commerce or city public works, where we've given them a list of areas that are adoptable in their areas, and they've connected us to businesses or nonprofit organizations that want to adopt. I don't think it's the fact that we are stable. It's not a bad thing if we have groups in the program that are not supposed to be doing what they are, and we're recognizing that, and we are making those areas adoptable for adoption. So to me, we're winning on both ends when we are getting new adoptions and when we're keeping organizations off the program that are not supposed to be doing what they're doing, because it's just feeling good if the numbers increase, but if we have organizations that are not picking up litter. So I think we're making progress in both areas.
Okay, well yeah, I mean, obviously we don't want dead wood, and to clean house and get rid of things that are not producing, organizations that are not really, they're not being accountable to the job. That's clearly critically important. But to have, I mean, it seems like it's between a third and a half of all of the available spots unfilled. It still does seem like, that should be a specific focus. So I'm hoping that maybe you could continue to give us updates on that, and particularly at the next meeting with those two, the probation program, and then if these stipends are resulting, hopefully the stipend money kicks in soon, as Deputy Mayor from Vista Green was asking about, that'll be something that could provide that incentive. Because I do think that it does seem like this is a really important part of the litter abatement program for our district at least. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Do we have any public comments on this agenda item?
No, Chair, no hands from the public.
Okay, well, we have one other agenda item. So thank you so much, Gustavo, for all that great information. And it's really hopeful. We're really on a good path here to see some serious improvement, and I'm thrilled about that. So thank you for your hard work on it. So our next is number 4, which is called Back to Work and Center for Employment Opportunities Overview. This is about a 10-minute presentation. And so I will hand it over to Randy Wertman and Rob Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Randy Wertman. I am the regional coordinator for the Back to Work program. You may hear it's referred to by Caltrans as the Veteran Outreach Program, or VOP. That's what we were kind of initially contract with them, just not to confuse anyone, but those are kind of the two names we go by. Just a real quick, a little about me. I live and work in San Diego. I'm here in my downtown office right now. However, we do serve counties statewide. I am a Marine veteran myself, came to San Diego in 1998. And I've been here pretty much ever since, like a lot of folks who came here with the military. I'm joined today by our senior director from Sacramento, and that's Keith Lane. And he'll be talking as well. And also by Center for Employment Opportunity, who I asked to have invited with us because they do similar work as us, and they serve a slightly different population, as Gustavo mentioned. So I think first I'll hand it over to my boss, Keith, who will give us a little overview of the program and then the agency that we work for. So go ahead, Keith.
Thank you, Randy. And I appreciate everybody allowing us to give a quick presentation about what we do and the programs that we operate here in San Diego. So first off, before I get into that, I just got to give extreme kudos to this group for the work you do in combating litter abatement in your area and the investment that you're doing for that. So it's definitely paying off. It's somebody from Sacramento. I am based out of Sacramento, but I operate statewide programs. Just very humbling to see that and see the work you're investing in your local communities and making sure to put that pressure on our government to make sure, from the state level to invest in our communities throughout the state and see that there's this horrific issue of litter through our country, not just our state, but our country. And we need an investment in order to take care of that problem. And then also doing it in an extremely innovative way, as Gustavo explained with this Clean California initiative, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but just wanted to commend you all for that extremely innovation, having a subcommittee that meets and talks about this issue, because it is a problem, and I think the Clean California initiative is finally great investment to combat that problem that we all have. So Anyhow, as Randy mentioned, we do have statewide programs. So I'll give you a quick overview, and I'm going to hand it back off to Randy and Rob to go more on a local level as far as who we serve on a local level and the work that we do on a local level. But just to give you a quick overview, our Back to Work department CEO is also very similar. They're transitional employment programs to provide immediate employment and litter abatement resources to Caltrans. And I've had the opportunity to be involved with these programs since 2008 when we first started our pilot program in Sacramento. And it was just a very innovative way of use of tax dollars to provide immediate employment to some of those most marginalized communities throughout our state. Many who are justice involved, many who are experience homelessness, veterans who are unemployed, and many other populations who need immediate employment. And sorry, next slide, please. I'm not good with the PowerPoint slides. They need immediate employment, but at the same standpoint, Caltrans needs labor to get litter abatement done and get litter removed off the highways. So we've been operating these programs since 2008 and have been statewide for several years. And I think, as I mentioned, with this Clean California initiative, it's clear that no matter how much we've put in those resources prior to that, it hasn't been enough. And Gustavo went over those numbers from the state level as far as how much money has been invested to remove litter, and then how much litter just in our program, some of our litter abatement crews, and this is a statewide, over the last several years, we've removed over 2.5 million bags of litter off the state highways. And it's just a massive amount of work that needs to be done. But going over these programs, what's great about them is we put people back into the workforce and leverage other resources and dollars in order to help them get back on their feet and get permanent employment. And many of them filled some of those 68 positions that just recently were hired from Caltrans. So it's just a great way of getting people back into the workforce, get immediate employment, and then help them get into what I like to refer to as a career pathway and really get into sustainable employment further on. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Randy to go a little bit more in depth on what we do here on a local level in San Diego.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about our program impact, there's going to be a lot of numbers here, but as the slide states, over 3,000 bags of trash per month. Also with fire fuel reduction, which we count separately, that's 1,400 bags per month. Since the program started 4 years ago, we've paid almost $5 million in wages to employees working here in San Diego. And as Gustavo mentioned, we've had, even prior to this, 15 folks hired recently with Caltrans, and then 26 currently in the hiring pipeline. For our program in San Diego, it is veteran specific. We must have military service to serve in our program. And most of our participants actually come from VVSD, Veterans Village of San Diego, from PATH. VVSD is the largest partner with others as well. Everybody kind of provides referrals to that, which means about 85% are currently or recently homeless, veterans who experience homelessness. And 81% after they successfully complete our program are hired someplace, whether it's with Caltrans, generally with other places in the past, but with Caltrans hiring so much, we really are focusing on that. And, I just want to say, just to kind of make things very concrete, is that every single day at 6:45 a.m., we've got 5 veteran crews that start their day at 4343 Ocean View Boulevard, which in the city of San Diego, which is ECC. They go out, they work in 2 yards currently. With Clean California, we're hoping and expecting to expand that throughout the county as well. And I just want to emphasize the fact that with these veteran crews, I've seen it. If you tell them to take a hill, you better get out of the way because they're going to take the hill. And they work hard, and their production is extremely high. They go places that perhaps others can't, in the sense of volunteers and that sort of thing, with center divides. And it's a skill. It really is. The safety that they practice every day is a skill. They need escape routes. They need spotters, and they need to work safely. And that is absolutely huge. The last thing that I just wanted to point out is that, yes, this is an employment first program. We have folks who come into us, and if they come on a Tuesday, by the following Monday, we try to put them on a crew, and then immediately start to work on them finding full-time careers, wherever that might be, and encourage and do everything we can to get their participants into full-time careers. With that, I know we've got some limited time. I will hand it back to Keith real quick for the Clean California, and then we'll hear from CEO Rob Smith as well. Next slide.
All right. We kept this slide very, very simple because the Clean California initiative is things that are getting planned out as you all know, and starting to get rolled out. So as Gustavo mentioned, there's going to be 7 work crews added into San Diego from what we understand. And what we're excited about is being able to expand some more of these SPP crews, serve a broader population, and get many people who really right now need to get back into the workforce. These programs are very humbling because we'll work with people who sometimes are 40, 50, 60 years old and have never had a job. Our San Diego program is specific for back to work. Rob will talk in a minute about CEO and the details there, but throughout the state, not all our programs are veteran specific. Obviously, those veterans have held a job. Some of our other programs, 40, 50, 60-year-old people are coming into the program, have never held a job, and it's their very first paycheck. And it's just a very humbling experience to help them on their way to a pathway of becoming a taxpayer and becoming a productive member of society. So we're really excited to be able to partner on this Clean California initiative. And Mayor Blakesport, I know you mentioned it earlier as far as changing the culture. And I feel that this Clean California initiative is a way that we can really change culture, because that is what's going to be needed, is to change the culture of us all as citizens taking a responsibility to keep our communities clean. And one great way with those SPP programs is the massive amount of people that go through these work crews. So Randy mentioned we have 5 work crews. That calculates into roughly about 250 people being served on an annual basis going through those work crews. And that's 250 people who now see the impact of and have to go clean up litter every single day and see the importance of their part that they play as not just an employee, but as a citizen on keeping the roadways clean and their communities clean. So hopefully with this, with these 7 work crews, that's an additional, 350 people on an annual basis is what we're expecting to serve. That's 350 more people that see that every single year in a very, very intentional way. And while all at the same time, getting back on a pathway of employment and becoming taxpayer and productive members of society. So with that being said, I know we're on a time crunch, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Rob. I believe he has a separate PowerPoint to go through, and he's going to go much more into detail as a provider and what CEO goes through on a day-to-day basis with each client and the clients that they serve.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having us here today. I can start even before the slide gets loaded, but yeah, I mean, we are partners with the Butte County across the state. We have a great partnership with this team. And so we're just really excited locally about the opportunity to just be a part of this presentation, but overall the populations that are being served. As Keith said, this will introduce about potentially maybe 300 more or so opportunities. Currently, CEO, we have the capacity to serve close to 700 people a year. We have Caltrans work crews. We have 5 Caltrans work crews that go out every day. And we also have 8 City of San Diego crews. But as I look at the list of folks here, I see we have Chula Vista. We have folks that we've actually partnered with in the past and done very similar beautification projects with, and look forward. I know Imperial Beach, Serge, we were down in your neighborhood a couple of years back doing some beautification projects in the along the Bay Area there. So again, just happy to be a part of those projects and see these partners around the table today, and just that continued commitment. We solely work with the formerly incarcerated individuals, and those are those folks that potentially do come out that haven't worked. Today, I actually have one of my team members who came to us. He's what's considered a lifer in California, came out of incarceration and, came to CEO, one of the, I think, for first jobs that he attained getting out of a long stint of incarceration, and is now working as a crew supervisor for us. So as Keith was saying, they don't just get to see the fruits of their labor in the community and their beautification projects, but they also get to serve as lived experience experts and getting themselves back into society, and they can help others actualize that process as well. And so this year, again, we have the capacity hopefully to serve about 700 folks that are all justice involved. So as you guys are thinking about those crews that you'll be partnering with the courts, we actually partner with the County of San Diego. I'm the chair of the Homeless Court Committee, working very closely with Homeless Court and the City Attorney's Office, the Public Defender, and the District Attorney, and all of those justice partners. So we love to be a part of that conversation and bring any of the partnerships that we have existing into that fold, because I know we have a lot of people that necessarily may not be qualified for CEO that might be looking for employment. So however we can help, we'd love to be a part of the solution. Here is a slide, just a bit about our model, kind of very simple, 4 steps. Come in, do an orientation. That's where your safety training, all employment verification is done. And we are their employer of record. So these folks are being paid. One of the other slides, we have some figures on what we've paid and wages. The transitional employment, that's the litter crews, the beautification projects. And then we work with folks, one-on-one to develop a job placement plan for that individual. What type of industry do they want to go into? We have vocational training that we offer, a lot of OSHA certifications, forklift certifications, confined spaces, construction safety programming, all free to the participants as they come through the program. And then once they get a job, we actually follow them for the duration of 12 months. So just getting a job is, one thing. Keeping that job is a whole nother challenge, especially for folks that are coming home from incarceration, balancing a variety of competing sort of interests. And so we provide cash incentives, but we also, over that 12-month period, and they can get up to anywhere from like $500 to $700 in cash incentives for maintaining a job. But where I see most of the benefit is just that connection to the community, knowing that someone is in the community that is there for them, that they can go to, like, the gentleman is on the phone today, Ruben Davis, that, he runs our resident narcotics association program. And so constantly in that kind of cycle of trying to help others stay out and maintain sobriety, et cetera, and get on with their lives. And then, of course, the upward mobility, we have a focus on trying to get people a livable wage. And again, some of our folks, I believe we have some folks that were at the hiring event that actually got letters as well. And so we're very excited about how they're going to transition over. And we do have folks that have transitioned to Caltrans that were participants became supervisors and then moved on for that Caltrans opportunity. So we're very, very excited about that. If you want, you can go to the next slide. That slide has a little bit of the numbers. 2,900 individuals that have worked on the cruise in San Diego. We paid $6.5 million in earned income. Again, that was revenue, that's taxable income that actually folks are formerly incarcerated, getting out of prison, jail, that are earning a wage and tax earning citizens in the community. Currently, we're probably picking up about 140 tons of trash, and that's with Caltrans and the city of San Diego. We do a lot of homeless abatement, encampment work, and litter cleanup in some of those hot spots throughout the city. Next slide. And obviously, we wanted to showcase all the great work that we're doing out on the highways with you guys and the Caltrans team. And the next one. These are more our impact, directly with participants, over 1,200 participants that have been placed into full-time jobs. Our average wage is about $15.43 an hour. And we have multiple partnerships with employers that are really focused on that inclusive hiring. They know who we are, they know who the participants are, and they really are working with our folks to keep them employed and keep them out of incarceration. And next slide. This talks a little bit about our population, who they are, where they come from. So 90% men, 10% women. We have a focus, a commitment this year to increase our gender, our women representation in our program. And just very proud that, our focus during the COVID-19 pandemic, our crews, we didn't shut down at all. We actually remained, open and sending the crews out every day. I think through the pandemic, we did see a dip in terms of just the folks coming in due to the court systems being closed down, but we still served close to a little over 400 people that we were able to provide employment to throughout the entire pandemic. And the next slide. So this one I think is really interesting because, we talk about working with the court systems and working with those folks that are working off those tickets. We do sit as the chair of the homeless court program in San Diego. And in that program, we have about 1.4 million in forgiven fines, and that's just the central court. I know we have some North County folks on here. We actually have homeless court is in North County as well. I did not prepare the North County numbers, but if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those as well. We have a food pantry where folks can come in. We don't want them to have to choose between their rent or a meal. So we partnered with the food bank and the San Diego Foundation and secured funding to support. Every time a person finishes the program, we give them a bag of groceries and they can know that they have food they can fall back on. So we're very proud about that. And then our partnerships with CalFresh enrollments, getting people connected to benefits, us being a direct service provider, trying to figure out how we stay participant centered. These are the sort of programs that we really focus on trying to work on their basic needs. And the next slide just really talks about our partnerships that we currently have. Again, there are names on that list that we have partnered with the city of Imperial Beach. We have worked with the city of Chula Vista, the city of Escondido. They might not necessarily be on here, but they're not current. We don't have current ongoing partnerships with them, but always looking for ways to get our folks involved more. And we really love the idea about volunteer opportunities. It's the one thing that many of us with lived experience, I myself am formerly incarcerated as well, that we try to really talk to folks about getting involved in their community. The best way to stay connected to your community is be involved because the return on that investment is just so great. And that's something that all of us try to talk to our participants about. And if anyone's interested, we did have a person on the phone, Ruben Davis, who is one of our participants that came through the program. I'm sure he would love to tell you about who he is and his experience, but I don't want to take up any more of your guys' time. I know he's on the phone, I think on hold though, or in the room.
Well, if he's on the phone, go ahead and call on him.
Yeah, Ruben, are you there? Hello, Ruben?
His square just got added, Chair. It looks like he's gonna need to unmute himself.
Okay, Ruben, I think you have to press like *6 in Zoom.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, thank you for having me here. My name is Ruben Davis. I'm formerly incarcerated. I served 38 years in prison off of a life sentence, a juvenile sentence. And when I got out, I'm originally from LA. I was sent to San Diego to reentry housing. While I was there, that reentry housing, I seen a flyer on the board about CEO, got interested in it, got a pass, went to CEO and joined CEO at that time. Took 2 weeks of training courses. And while I was there, I took an opportunity to get into certification programs with OSHA and with hazmat and with forklift driving and other courses. And with that, I started building my resume because after 38 years in prison as a juvenile, when I went in 16, I had nothing to show for. So I was going to have a lot of problems out there trying to get that job. So, they helped me build that resume. They sent me out of the field to work. There was more resumes there. At that time, unfortunately, I couldn't join. They had the Caltrans cruise. I couldn't join it because of parole. And I pray that someday that may change because that would have really more helped me get out there and get the opportunity to work with Caltrans. I'm now off of parole thanks to CEO because I still had 2 more years of parole to serve. And after I came back as a supervisor, CEO helped me. They got at the parole. And because of the job that I'm doing within the community, with cleaning the community, working with the homeless out there and working with the police that escorts us, I was allowed to get off parole. The thing is without CEO, I don't know where I would have been. Because, once I made that great decision to go over there and get all these opportunities and certification, I was well on my way. After being there for a few months at CEO, they found me a job with a partnership San Diego. I went over there with my certifications and was allowed to move up in there to a trash truck driver. And I was received within that year 3 times Employee of the Month. And that was just due to all my trainings that I received in CEO, and especially in regards to safety. My big thing was safety in there, and they appreciated that. I helped out a lot there. And so after being a year there, I heard that CEO was opening up for site supervisors, and I applied and I got the job, and I've been there almost close to 2 years now. Hopefully, I'd like to just throw this in that, one day that parolees, especially the lifer, John Ray, are able to work with Caltrans. Because if you look at the stats with the governor, and I'm one of them that proves it, but I know hundreds, is that lifer parolees that come out on parole, they have a 0.4% recidivism rate, as opposed to all other groups. Because lifers are out there training programs. They're getting these vocational trades, and they're eager to come out and make a life for them. They want to work hard, and they're doing it, and I'm one of them as proof, but I'm just one out of hundreds that I'm still in contact with that are out there doing it, that went through programs like CEO. Then we hit the streets and we went out there and got our jobs, and we're moving up. So, hopefully there can be some change there with Caltrans, especially with the lifer programs, because 0.4 recidivism rate is like, wow, it's the biggest accomplishment out of all parolees. So I just want to throw that in, and I thank you guys for the opportunity to allow me to speak, and I thank Rob, and I thank everybody that's on this committee listening right now.
Well, thank you, Ruben. We love hearing from you. So thank you for taking the time to call in and tell us your story.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Ruben.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So, well, we again, thank you guys for allowing us to take up your time today, and just very appreciative for all the work that you're doing to help our folks. And we look forward to being a part of any more discussions and partnerships. Please let us know how we can help.
Well, thank you so much, Robert and Keith, for your hard work and coming to speak to us today. I do have a quick question, but I'm going to call on my colleague, Mayor Sotelo Solis first. She has her hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mayor Blakespear. Thank you, Rob, Keith, and Mr. Davis. Thank you so much for your commitment to yourself and your family. For that, it was beautiful to hear your success story. It's that type of success story that needs to be publicized and shared. So kudos to you, felicidades. One of the things that I would love to see or hear about is any childcare opportunities that is provided through CEO to their employees, because we know that many of the jobs are labor intensive, but there are both men and women that are in that workforce. And so I'm curious, I didn't hear opportunity for childcare or that you offer that service for your employees. And then I have just a second follow-up question to that. So Robert Keith.
Yeah, we definitely would love to have childcare provided. We do not. We do work with partners right now. Childcare is a lot more scarce than it was, 2 years ago. Many of the folks, just due to the population that we serve, for instance, like Ruben, folks that have done these very long stints, many of them, as they're coming home, unfortunately, sort of their childcare issues had to be dealt with at the beginning of their sentencing. And so some folks, when they come home, the transitional housing that they're put in, the halfway houses, they've relied on their families and other support systems. So when they come to us, childcare isn't the largest looming issue that they have. It's more family reunification work that we're working on.
And that all makes sense, where they are and the timeline of their lives. And the second question is, or just the offer of opportunity. I think here in our community of National City, I would love to see how to partner more. I think if we can, again, have those job fairs, job opportunities, I think there's great ways. And especially if you've worked with IB, Chula Vista, and City of San Diego, we're the only ones that are missing in that line of family here in the South Bay. So I would love to share, and if staff could provide that to you. And through this litter abatement committee or subcommittee, we've had several conversations about how we empower our communities. And this is one pipeline, again, to keeping people off the streets, but in productive roles. And we want to see that. So whatever way we can support, please let me know.
Yeah, and please let us know the same thing. You have my contact information, it's on the slide. Even if we're able to help those spheres of influence right now with the economy starting to open back up, and hopefully things do stay in that forward motion, we literally have more jobs than we can fill. And some of these jobs do require that folks necessarily don't have a background. So we're happy to share those contacts and resources with folks that even, we're not serving. We know a job right now that's open and is looking for someone with not a background. We can turn another partner onto a job like that. So we're happy to help out wherever we can.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Mayor Huebner.
Thank you so much. And thank you to both of you, Rob and Randy, for your presentation and for uplifting so many lives. I heard that enthusiasm in Ruben's voice. I appreciate it. I apologize if I missed this because I had to take a quick call at the very beginning of this presentation, but how do you get your funding?
Keith, do you want to take yours first?
Sure, I'll go ahead and we'll go first, and then you can go ahead and fill in some blanks on your part. So a lot of this is from Caltrans maintenance funding, and it's actually from the state budget. So majority of the funding for these SPP programs or litter abatement work crews are from the general funds from Sacramento's budget, not from the local district's budget. And then they're allocated into those local districts based off litter scores. Basically, it's a LOS score is what it's referred to. So these are state funds that has actually gone into the local communities to then fund these programs for litter abatement and then provide those jobs. And then Rob, I know he has the city and county crews that you can probably hit on a little bit more.
Well, real quick, I just want to point out that we had 2 of our crews are funded by the local district, which is kind of unique for, well, overall, right? We're just those 2 crews though.
Yeah, and for our CEO, we partner directly with the probation department, and it's a pass through from Sacramento. The wages that pay crews is a pass through, and then we have probation supporting vocational training, which is really all the job readiness and all the soft skill training that folks like Ruben need, sort of triage that kind of lack of opportunities and job skill sets, getting them into the workforce. So those are mixed funding. And in the city of San Diego, we have 2 contracts to do litter abatement and homeless encampment and beautification projects. And those are just fee for services.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to all 3 of you and Ruben as well. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Well, thank you. This is great because we're just right at close to the 2:30 when this meeting is supposed to end. My question was also about funding, which Mayor Huebner asked, but I wanted to just ask about this combination of you saying that you have more jobs than you have people to fill them, and Mayor Satella-Solis saying, is there any opportunity for us to try to create more of a pipeline? And we did have 243 applicants at the last job fair and could only hire 68 conditional job offers. So is there a way that we can marry all these things to get more people into your program, or is that already in place, or what's your perspective on that?
I am glad you mentioned that, because I wrote it down when Mayor Solis mentioned that, and I would love to make that connection. We have certain entry points to come into the program currently because of funding mechanisms, as Rob kind of mentioned, but these Clean California work crews that are going to be coming on board, it's going to be a little bit of time to come for those to be initiated and get on board, but would really, really like to have that intentional focus on if those people are interested in those jobs in Caltrans already. These specific jobs don't pay as much, but it will help them in the meantime while we can prepare them to then possibly become the next 68 conditional job offers, to at least have a job, get some income, and get a little bit more experience under their belt as well, to then get into those next round of hiring from Caltrans as well. So yes, I would love to see, Randy and Rob, you're the ones that are there local, on how we could really make that connection and get those folks that were sitting there, and maybe Gustavo, if there's some folks on the HR team at Caltrans that we can work with on that as well, to maybe if they can't be hired there, maybe they can qualify for one of our programs, be hired right away, get a job, and then, as I said, get their way into the door on the next round of hiring from Caltrans.
Exactly. I feel the same way Keith has stated it. And, in the sort of open job market, we're happy to share those resources, those folks that Caltrans may not have been able to take on if they don't qualify for either of our programs, Keith, or the returning veteran, or they're not justice involved. Our reach in terms of the employment market, we're filling job leads throughout San Diego County. And so we have employers that are looking for people that they don't necessarily have to come through our programs. They just need people to backfill positions that sort of got left vacant in the pandemic.
Okay, well, maybe we should ask Sandyke staff to put together like the emails for all the people so you can all contact each other. And send it out to Mayor Sotelo, Solis, and Robert, and Randy, and Keith, and Gustavo, so that everybody can get this organized with your HR departments. Okay, well, I don't see any more hands up. We're right at time, and I'm happy about that because I always like to end on time. So our next meeting is Monday, September 13 at 1 p.m. We'll be focused on homelessness on our major transportation corridors. And I want to thank again all the great presentations today and our subcommittee members for showing up in the middle of July to do this. Thank you for your commitment. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.